What was your relationship to Eurovision going back as far as you want to go back?
I can't go further back than 2004 because then I was born. But I have a very loving memory and relationship to Eurovision Song Contest, actually. It's been a big part of my upbringing and a big part of my family. Maybe the first years I remember is actually 2012 when Loreen won for the first time. And I remember I thought the song was really, really, really weird. The crab dance and all of that. Now seeing how EBU is handling this incredible, of course, difficult situation. It's a lot of grief and sorrow I feel for the contest this year. It's also really sad that I'm not watching it and taking part in the celebrations as I usually are. The entire discussion has been about what is political and what is not political. That conversation in itself is a political conversation. So I think that the EBU has handled the situation poorly. A country that is in war shouldn't be allowed to participate in a contest that is about peace, because I think that sends very, very mixed signals. Now the standards aren't clear and the rules aren't clear for what to do when a member country is in war. I also, of course, understand the perspectives that it's a contest about peace, so even the countries who are at war should be allowed to participate because it is a way of creating dialogue. That can be important too. I am not sure Eurovision is the arena for that anymore. It's of course very difficult, and I am very lucky to not be in the position of the EBU right now. But also, you have to stay true to your own values. I also think that the city of Malmö has handled the situation poorly, because I've had dialogues with them asking whether we can facilitate discussions about this in the city during the contest.
Can you speak more specifically to facilitating a conversation around this issue with the Malmö city government?
The discussions have been good and constructive with the city of Malmö because they are a pragmatic city. The issue has been that we basically disagree on how to do this, because I think that, of course, we should have discussions within the Eurovision context about why the EBU is handling this situation like this, why the city of Malmö is choosing to still stay in, and all of those kinds of things, because I think that is what you do in a democracy. But the city of Malmö thought it was best for those conversations to take place outside of the Eurovision arenas and stages, which I think is sad. It is important for the city of Malmö, for the EBU, for SVT and all of the broadcasters to have those conversations, even though it's very difficult, even though it is a challenge.
Eric Sade wore a keffiyeh on stage, and both SVT and the EBU admonished him, said it was political. Eric came back and said that the keffiyeh had been given to him by his father. What is your take on this issue?
What he did was, of course, just to show who he is. The same issue showed a couple of years ago when Norway sent a Sami artist and they didn't want to allow the Sami flag into the arena at all, which they changed after discussions. I think the same principles goes for here, because Erik Saade is half Palestinian. A piece of clothing and a flag or whatever shouldn't be harmful to an event, because if they have set the standard and if they've decided that wearing a piece of clothing or bringing in a flag that is not competing in the contest, if they've decided that that is harmful for the contest, then they have made that political.
The Palestinian public broadcaster, PBC, applied for EBU full membership and entry into Eurovision in 2008. So much of this conversation is about Israel's participation. The other side of that is that part of the problem with this conversation is who's not on stage.
I think parts of it would be solved if both got to participate, of course. But it's a bigger thing than this. So that brings us back to what we talked about in the beginning as well. Should any country that is at war be allowed to participate?
The one difficulty about that, it probably wouldn't be too hard to think of situations where a conflict to a lot of people looks pretty one-sided, but you could make the case either way. And so there's a danger also of punishing a country that is essentially at war to defend itself by taking their voice away.
It's really difficult. I think that making that festival is difficult when we're allowing countries that are at war with each other or at war in general to compete.
The UN General Assembly just recognized Palestinian nationhood. Some applauded this. There was this other part of the conversation that saw it as empty symbolism, given the immediate human rights crisis that's on the ground.
We should never stop doing the symbolic gestures. The best, worst system we've ever had is democracy. And the democratic system also included a diplomatic system, which is what has helped us facilitate peace talks. And I think that that kind of system is what is going to fix this too. But that demands symbolic gestures to start, because that is what changes minds. And then that has to be followed up on by the concrete action, which the diplomats are good at. It's a good thing that people start thinking about how institutions are being run, what decisions they are taking, how they're impacting us, how they're impacting the events we love, and then working for those institutions to align with what we as the people want. I think it's also a good thing that those discussions are being held and taking place about the EBU now and the Eurovision as a whole.
Maybe just to wrap up then, is there a song, a piece of art that has informed your activism?
Yeah, there is actually. I was a part in organizing a big climate concert a couple of years ago in Stockholm. If you've seen Greta Thunberg Rickroll, she did that with me. But the opening act, Loreen, singing her song Statements, which she performed in Melodifestivalen 2017. There was a mashup between Statements and Another Brick in the Wall, which was absolutely incredible. It's a core memory. Seeing her taking a stand like that and creating this incredible performance was inspirational, to say the least.
Yeah. Break a leg, and I'll see you at Plan B.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
All the mysteries of the Euroverse.